Now is the time to move forward, as moving forward is the essence of life. Well, we'll move forward to our next panel, which is on the programmatic possibilities, exploring new ways to reach an evolving audience base. If we take a look at programmatic ad spent in India especially, I think marketers can learn a lot from it. There are a few questions that comes to my mind and even yours as well. So the questions are, what are the factors that are driving the growth? Another one is, how can we utilize to direct campaigns across targeted channels? How to creatively overcome advertising fatigue using powerful programmatic capabilities? So to answer these questions, we have a panel of esteemed speakers and experts with us. First, I would like to call upon Ms. Dimpy Yadav, who is the General Manager, Xaxis India. Please welcome ma'am on stage. The gorgeous woman is here with us. You can kindly take your respective chair. Here. Yes. Along with her, I would like to welcome Mr. Jahid Ahmad, who is the Vice President and Head Digital Acquisition, Content and Social Media Marketing, HDFC. Please welcome Mr. Jahid. Honored to have you here. Yes, definitely. You can choose your chair. No issues in that. Okay. Now moving forward, I would like to welcome Mr. Yogin Vora, Associate Director, Digital Marketing, Z5 Global. Please welcome Mr. Yogin. Applauses should continue. Yes, before I would say that, I could hear the applauses. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And now after this, I would like to welcome Mr. Chintan Soni, who is the Vice President, DigitalMadison World, to moderate this session. Okay, to moderate this session, we have Mr. Tushar Gupta, VP Programmatic Growth and Partnerships, Amnet. Please welcome Mr. Tushar.
Perfect. So, hello everyone. It's a pleasure being here with such a diversified panel here. We have people from our tech partners, we have agency folks, we have brand representation here. So, yeah, thank you all for coming here, and especially to those who are traveling here from different cities, and me being one of them. So, yeah. So without much ado, we'll start our session for today, and we are going to talk about the most hottest topic of our times, which is programmatic, right? So I think everyone is kicked about that. So I see the room is full of a lot of digital people here from all walks of life. There are people who are young marketeers, they are veterans of the industry, and in fact, I can see on the panel we have more than 50 years of collective work experience sitting right here. So it's going to be an interesting conversation, because we have seen how digital has grown tremendously in the last decade and how programmatic lies at the center of it all. So a little bit about programmatic. When it started emerging in the Indian market, we saw a paradigm shift, and the way we used to plan and buy media has changed tremendously, right? And we see that how we have changed from content and placement buys to audience buys and precision marketing, right? So programmatic is everywhere these days. So if we talk about, if I have to throw some numbers on programmatic, we have seen that as per industry reports in 2019, the programmatic spends in your regular media plan used to be around 20%, and by the end of this year is projected to be around 50%. 50% is a very huge number, we all know that before this. Such a huge number was commanded by the walled gardens, and it's no longer the case right now, because programmatic is the solution to a lot of things. Specifically, after COVID, it has seen exponential growth, right? So we can safely say that programmatic is no longer an emerging trend or a channel, but it's the future of advertising. So with that thought in mind, we'll start our panel for today, and we'll go across the table. My first question I would ask Dimpy. Dimpy, you have been at the forefront, and you have been a strong advocate of programmatic in the market, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of advertisers on a day-to-day basis. So what do you recommend that how marketeers in today's world can utilize programmatic advertising to better direct their campaigns?
Yeah, I would first of all, would like to mention this, that I remember when programmatic started, at least like 4 or 5 years ago, this question used to be there in every room. Advertisers, if it's a brief for brand advertising, branding, they would say that programmatic is meant for performance. If it's a brief for performance, they would say that programmatic is meant for branding, right? So So that was the question. But today, when we talk about programmatic, we say that this is at an evolution phase. We say that it is growing, ever evolving. So when I talk about programmatic, we clearly know that programmatic is actually a full funnel solution or a bridge, which is helping you kind of connecting the dots all together across the expertise areas, which could be inventory, measurement, data, etc. Right? So when we talk about programmatic today, we clearly know that this is one of the key which is going to help us solve challenges and problems which had been bigger than only the strategies that we had been working on. Especially when we talk about omni-channel, one of the biggest area or an ask by all advertisers, right? We know how data has been the center point of discussion, which I'm sure we'll discuss more. So programmatic is the gateway to every kind of solution that you're looking for, especially within digital, when you have so many new channels coming up. You have media commerce, you have audio, you have video, display. So the world is not just around video and display, it is growing beyond. We have gaming, which is very much at a growth right now. So programmatic right now, in a very short note, if I have to cover this, is one of the key which really unlocks the door for you when it comes to either activation of your audiences or understanding your audiences or doing a measurement in terms of a full funnel attribution, or when you want to just understand that how can I connect all the channels together in a one umbrella manner. So this is how I would look at programmatic.
Interesting thought. Thank you, Dimpy, for that. I'll move on to Chintan now for your thoughts.
Thanks. So I completely agree with Dimpy what just she said. It actually started for us more for the reason consolidation. So if you look at Madison specifically, 80-90% of the clients that we actually handle are actually integrated, like where we handle their not just the digital media, but we handle their print, TV, radio, etc., etc. So the reason actually it started is mainly a consolidation within digital media, where we wanted to get the complete a reach and frequency control at an overall level. Then it actually expanded towards the other avenues of advertising, which is where we are basically looking at now connected TV as one of the channel. We are looking at outdoor as a one of the connecting channel, and we are looking at consolidating frequency at a top level. So from there we then actually moved towards doing a lot more deeper attribution. So for example, in one of our client, we keep basically juggling between this question, saying that I'm spending 50% of my spend on branding and 50% on performance. Is there a way I can actually identify how my branding campaigns are impacting my performance? So these are the some of questions which we use programmatic extensively to get attribution. We basically identify common users between branding and performance and identify that what is the impact on the conversion rate or a cost of conversion, and etc., etc. So I think it is helping extensively, and going forward a lot more attribution and consolidation will take place in advertising world through programmatic.
So I think you touched upon a very interesting point about the attribution part, and specifically when client asking itne paise mein kitna milega kind of a thing. So let's hear it from Jahid, who comes from a brand background. You are into the BFSI sector, and we all know that HDFC has been one of the first movers in the programmatic space, and you guys are heavily utilizing and leveraging programmatic. So what are your takes on this?
Yeah, so I think the way we are using programmatic, when you have to move the mind matrix, right, there are two types of things that we do. We try to create reach with impact. We try to create reach with a reminder medium, right? Eventually ending up to help us move the entire mind matrix. Now, programmatic is a place which has helped us really scale up with media consolidation that acts as a protagonist in terms of reminder medium. Now, the way we are doing it is media consolidation is, yes, people are using it, but how we are using it is saving media cost by consolidating media and building a sequential story around it. So when you do a story, so like let's say the key essence of programmatic that has happened is we are now moving away from a channel-led campaign to audience-led campaign, right? Yes, we have been talking at large about it, but now it's really happening. And as you rightly said, 45-50% of the campaigns are programmatic. So till the time I'm doing a live event integration, till the time I'm doing an innovation maybe with a publisher, everything can be done programmatically, right? So, and Dimpy, as you rightly said, yes, the performance part of it depends on what objectives we are setting it up. But if it has to be hardcore business oriented, might take some more time, might take some more learnings, but at least from moving mind matrix, programmatic is helping us brilliantly, especially when it comes to audience. Then if I can set up the right combination of video with a banner, with the, the which channels it's going to give, the right context of the platform in the creative mindset, because it cannot happen that it's only the setup, it's only the audience and the creative is going somewhere else. Okay, so the right set of connectivity and then the sequencing part of it. If what is the frequency that's helping us to build up the mind matrix, and is it the same creative or it's a different storytelling that I'm trying to capitalize on? I think this combination overall is really helping us to kind of leverage programmatic to its fullest, and that's how it's helping us. Yeah.
Very well said, Jahid. In fact, it's very imperative that we have a particular objective in mind when we are setting up campaigns for programmatic. In fact, it's important to know where we are when we are going from A point to B point. So very well said on that. So I'll move on to Yogin here for his thoughts.
So I come from a category which is about storytelling, right? Every week there's a new release, there's a new series coming up. Programmatic has been for us most instrumental in the way we are approaching the consumer. Also consolidation, what you both said, Chintan and Zahid. For us, how effectively I'm able to convey that story to a particular user and make sure he buys a subscription over there. So covering Dimpy's parts, subscription has been a major pull for us in a global market. When I'm targeting South Asian diaspora in US and other markets, hyper-local targeting has been really better for us. Also, digital out of home, you take about innovation last 3 years, what programmatic is able to provide. You are able to consolidate, you are able to see all the audiences here. Beacon technology, digital out of home is able to help you out to get more audiences across. So things are for us have become better in a way we the consumer approach first for us, and customer is always the king, as you know. So I think programmatic for us is 100% us, except the walled garden. If you remove walled garden, all spends are 100% programmatic for us. So as a brand, we have evolved that in last whatever 1 year, 2 year, we have worked around.
Thank you so much for that. So I see that across the table, this fact resonates that programmatic brings the best out of everything. It combines data, tech, audience capabilities and everything, and in fact driving efficiencies at scale. So it's good to know that we are all on the same page. So while I see that programmatic has endless possibilities, there are also challenges in the market, right? Around, for example, Google coming up with their announcement on the cookie deprecation, right? They're just moving the dates, and the recent update is like 2023 they will end it. But yeah, we all know that winter is coming and we have to be prepared for that, right? So I would move to Dimpy here again. So what are your thoughts and how do you think that cookieless future will look like from an agency point of view?
Right. So when I personally think of cookieless, I would connect this with a stage in our lives. When, if you remember, DMP conversations starting up, right? It was very more of a buzzword back then. Like, what is a DMP? How will that help us? How do we collect data? And then everybody moved into that direction, collecting of data. And then 2020, Google announced that in a very phased manner, they're depleting cookies, right? Again, boom, what do we do now? So yes, we all are, while we talk about India as a market, we understand that we are very much heavily based on app consumption. But the fact is that when even Apple announced that they're also going away with and making a lot of changes, especially in identifiers, right? So that's an impact on advertisers for sure. And if you cannot identify your audiences basis how we had been moving in a direction, activating DMP, preparing a stack, that becomes again a question mark in terms of where are we going ahead with and how. So yes, I would clearly say that when you talk about taking identifiers away, which means that you're moving from a very niche targeted campaign or a strategy to a very holistic manner, which could be again, as you know, about flock, which is again targeting audiences basis a group and their habits, right? But at the same time, yes, these changes are happening basis the privacy laws which are coming into picture, consumer privacy. But even we as a consumer, we require certain kind of customization. So I would not want to see an ad which makes no sense to me, right? Because then that's spamming to me. So I end up buying something because that product makes sense to me. So it is not just a one-way window, but also consumers demand that kind of customization, which we also call as hyper-personalization. So yes, you do require certain kind of understanding of audience behaviors. One-to-one targeting is not allowed, which had started depleting since 2019 is what I'll call. September was the first release that had come in. But at the same time, there are many other ways. We know that contextual targeting used to be something which was just a one line item back then in our media plans, which would now take a main stage. We have location-based data targeting and then the prime hero, which is first-party data. So in all of this scenario, we know that when even DMP conversations had been happening, the focus wasn't collecting first party data. Yes, I understand usage had been in a different manner, but data still remains there. What is more important here is what we have seen, marketeers, advertisers, they're moving now towards CDP, which is furthermore feeds high. Just to understand that, let's not only talk about digital, but let's try to collect first party data in whichever form you can. And now it is not just about activation of data the way it was earlier, but you have to look to a first party data from a perspective where you understand your audiences, which makes relevance to your brand, your goals, what kind of objectives do you want to set in, and then how do you further go along the journey, which is activation of audiences using that data, which is going for more lookalike models, which is again going for automations. But yes, again, the focus area has brought back into picture, which is first party data. Not a DMP, but in terms of what other matrix can be there. Definitely that's where the focus area has become for all.
Got it. So if I have to ask you another question, what is more important to you? Is it personalization or relevance? Or relevance?
I would say relevance can only bring personalization. So as a consumer, what is a personalized ad to me, which makes relevance to me, right? So if I'm interested, say, into sports products, and I'm getting to see an ad which has nothing to do with sports, so neither is that personalized to me, and neither nor has that any kind of relevance to me. So I would say that yes, relevance is very important, but when we talk about hyper personalization, it should not be again only from one view, which is just an advertiser view that okay, I have XYZ cohorts, let's make XYZ creatives, let's do a DCO as a pilot campaign. But think from a consumer perspective that when you talk about hyper personalization, it is not just creative adaptation into media, but a wider picture, which could be a automated chat activation on the website, which could be a SMS campaign followed up by that, right? Which could be what do you do when you acquire a customer, the journey after that, which could be again, popping up products on the website. A very basic example, e-commerce, as we say that India is very heavily on apps these days, especially post-pandemic. When we're buying something, Blinkit is what I use for myself at home, right? There's so many products on that, but I know that only few is what I will buy, and I only have that 5-minute window to go and just shop my things. So if I don't have that hyper-personalization, even in that product offering for me, that makes no relevance. And I'm a repeat customer because I'm getting that kind of hyper-personalization there in terms of product choices.
Basically, both are important. It's a combination of both of them,
hand in hand.
right?
Yeah.
Got it. So I'll pose this question to Chintan now because you both come from the same background, from the same agency background. You talk to clients day in, day out, and most of the clients are concerned about what will happen. They're rushing towards buying a platform or how they're going to use their data, how are they going to activate. So how do you think cookieless future will look like from your perspective? And
see, I'll just extend the thought which Dimpy has just shared. See, there has to be a line of control when it comes to personalization and relevance. And I'll just give you one a very, very recent example. So I was in UK and I was actually sitting with my cousin, and he literally installed one pizza oven at his in garden, and I was just talking about how did you come up with the idea making pizza at home and everything. And I think in 4 to 5 hours later, I actually started seeing ad on Twitter or in any other platform that I was visiting. So I was actually literally stunned, I mean, that kind of personalization or relevance is something that I'm not pretty much used to it. But if I have actually searched for something like that, and if I'm getting, served some similar ads, I would be okay because, I'm actually in market, or probably, I've shown intent towards some products or a category. So I think, when it comes to privacy safe world, or, like a privacy conscious world, I think we need to just take a look at that, what happened actually when iOS actually changed the entire game of how users are being tracked. So if you look at specifically the Western markets where iOS penetration is very, very high compared to India, where it's about 5 to 8%. In most optimized account, the cost of acquisition actually went 2x, specifically in Meta as a platform. Meaning, you can see it even, the impact is actually seen in the stock prices, where in one day it crashed about 20%, and Mark Zuckerberg admitted the iOS data tracking is impacting the conversion data. The reason it is happening is because these machines are actually trained over the decades, when it is actually giving the effectiveness towards your ad dollar that you're spending. It is not just a 1 or 2 year, year of learning, but it has been trained over a decade. Now, when it actually gets deprecated, like, that is the time you have to, start conserving your first party data. And I would just, do a simple submission saying embrace for impacts. If anyone is saying that it is not going to impact your advertising dollar or your, whatever KPI or, key indicators that you are chasing, it is wrong. The moment it actually gets deprecated, you're going to see the impact in all the measurement that you are doing, all the KPIs that you're doing. So that's mine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chintan. So we understand, how it is going to impact the industry, how it is going to impact the client. So I would now like to understand from the brand perspective, that you, for example, I'll move on to Yogin now. Yogin, you come from a Z5 background, and you guys are sitting on tons and tons of first-party data, right? It's all subscription-based. How are you utilizing that data? And if I may ask, how are you future-proofing your advertising strategy in a privacy-first world?
So coming from an OTT, as you rightly said, we have tons of data. But what happens is, this entire privacy thing is up for the consumer. So I'm taking a step back as a marketer and think I'm a consumer as well. So imagine an intrusive ad which all of a sudden you're searching on something and it just flashes out to you. You will not like it because you have been tracked and measured everywhere. I'm happy with the cookieless world as a person, as an individual. As a marketer also, I think we are evolving in a way where this cookieless world has brought privacy sandbox option. It has brought federation of learning of cohorts. It has brought first local, which is Flock by Google, which is also Fledge has come out, which is a turtle dove proposal that way. So there are options for marketer to evolve, but that's not the end for it, right? So when you're working around with this particular privacy world, a marketer also has to evolve into MarTech, where he's optimizing his campaign towards the end goal, collecting multiple signals and other things. More than personalization, for me as an OTT, I'm targeting a person who is a romantic lover. I'm targeting a person who likes an action, probably then the region-wise bifurcation. So for me, cohort-based marketing, any which works better and in an effective way. Future-proofing myself, I think so, as a infrastructure intel, first-party data, we have to evolve more, and if we can reach via any other notifications or that kind of a consent-based marketing would work a lot. But other than that, I think so when you work about programmatic itself is getting into machine learning. You take your signals from GA goals and optimize that particular thing in a way where your final goals have been met. So custom bidding in that way on programmatic is really effective right now. So I think that's where my statement is not for us, cookieless world, for at least OTT, I believe it's going to help a long term for a user perspective.
Thank you so much for that, Yogin. And Zahid, from an HDFC point of view, again, you guys are also having a very rich data. In fact, I can say you have the richest data even compared to some of the third-party data partners, because you have all the financial backgrounds and everything, all credit card information. So how do you think you guys are, making use of that data in the future when there will be a privacy ecosystem?
Yeah, I think. But before just delving into it, to Dimpy's question, I always hold e-commerce with high regards. But when I was shown a lingerie, okay, I thought relevance matters more than personalization. Okay, but yeah, that happened. But yeah, coming to this, this is a very interesting topic, because let's say the regulators want privacy, the advertisers want performance, right? The users want personalization, or at least relevance, and the stakeholders wants profit. Okay, and nobody's ready to compromise. Okay, and then what's coming up is, I don't know, whenever it's gonna come up, is cookieless world. But at least, yes, we have a lot of data points. What we're trying to do is, trying to create a CDP hub, okay, which is giving me a complete, see for us, cohort does not exist. For us, it's one-on-one. I cannot say that I have to give a loan, this side I give a loan, that side I don't give a loan. For me, it's every individual, starting with, should I give a loan to him? Second is, how much is the amount? Thank you for that also. Third is, should I give him right now? Is he requiring it right now or not, right? I'll just complete this quickly. So the whole part of it is, we are trying to build the entire customer one view, which we are creating our own first party cookie data on the fly based on the customer. Second, what you're trying to do is we are trying to create, so mapped against GID. So we call it pseudo ID, GAID, or the device ID, mapped with hashed mobile number, hashed email ID. With all these data component, we have the channel propensity, we have the intent propensity and time propensity. And that's how we are trying to create our own orchestra. Second part of it is for new to bank, we are trying to engage and get data as much as possible. In short, yeah.
Thank you so much, Jahid, for that. I think we are short on time, so
Bell was for me to come on the stage. I'm so sorry if that bell
no
rang
problem, no
too
problem.
loud.
So it was nice having your views, two different views on the same thing, you know, because you guys are sitting on a lot of data, and the way you guys are going to utilize that data is quite different, you know. There's different objectives for both of you. So moving on, I think, as I said, I think you're left with only 5 minutes, so I'll quickly pick your brains on my last question for the day that, you know, and this goes across the table, right? So you can take a stab at it. So what are some key development areas or, you know, emerging tech or any new programmatic trends that today's marketer should look out for, you know, so that they can get maximum buck for their money?
Yeah, I'll take that up. So, see clearly, of course, as we know that programmatic is evolving at a stage which we could not even imagine earlier, right? So there's new solutions coming in, new channels coming in. At the bottom of it, what is important is how much you test. So there's something which is very important, test and hypothesis. You need to do it, which if you're not doing it, then no matter if there's a media commerce coming in or if there's an audio, if there's a gaming channel, you need to experiment that in order to come to your own, I'll say, benchmarking or your own understanding. So the most important key part here is not what is coming up, how much are you adapting towards it. So irrespective of it's a branding campaign or a performance campaign, there's always a room, right? So I would always suggest that have 10% of your budgets at least for testing new solutions, which is relevant for your briefs, for your brand, but always do test and hypothesis. I mean, that's my 1 cent on it.
Thank you so much, Dimpy, for that.
I think data is going to be very, very important, specifically in like a privacy safe environment. And data makes more sense when it is enriched regularly. So I personally feel that clean rooms as a solution, where you basically use a third-party data aggregator to enrich your data, is going to be a very, very promising solution, specifically for a large marketer where you have tons of data you are sitting on it, but those are not actually enriched beyond basics field like a demographic. So if you want to know how they're actually traveling in their offline world, I think there are a lot of data aggregators who actually now give clean room solution, including Google and Amazon, right? So I think those are some technologies which I'm actually banking my bucks on. Yeah.
I think a couple of keywords. One, suppression is very important. So when we are doing it, we need to understand when to suppress and what to communicate to the next set of people, which I think it's a miss by many people, okay, many brands. Second is fraud. While we are doing programmatic, it's very important that at least a 5-6% of the budget, if you can invest in a good fraud management tool, that will help us to understand the real efficacy of the campaign that's going on. So yeah, a couple of quick.
Thank you.
The tech trend, I think, so we are talking about signal collection on programmatic, which there are OBV and other things are the way we are optimizing it. Full funnel marketing is something which we should be actually doing it. Of course, fraud is the part of the parcel of digital right now going on, and we all are taking a proper precaution to it. I think two more things. I think CTV and other things are evolving greater in the market right now. I think that is what we have to look forward for.
Thank you so much, Onit. I think my takeaway from this conversation today would be that programmatic is not just machine. It's actually it's both art and science. While algorithm will always take the glory, there is always a human element behind it, and it's a powerful combination of both man and machine. So thank you so much for the insightful session, guys, and I hope the audience has something to take back today from this conversation. Are we opening the floor for questions?
Any questions if you have?
You can ask any of the panelists if you have any specific questions.
All right, so thank you so much, everyone,
Thank you.
for sharing your knowledge with us, sharing your expertise, giving examples, and making this session a wonderful one. Once again, thank you. Can we have a huge, huge round of applause?